the first thing I wanted to talk about was Mr. Pontellier. He finally answers to Edna's letter, and he has a strong response about what he thinks about her moving into a newer house just because, into a smaller house. So what he says is that he begged her to consider first, foremost, and above all else, what people would say. So, in this point in the story, we know that Edna couldn't care less about what people would say. Yet, Mr. Pontellier is there telling her that that's what she has to worry about, that's the most important thing. He's like society's constant reminder that she can't do what she wants, that she has to follow the rules and do, like, not move to another house just because she wants to. So I think that's why Chopin includes him in the story constantly, to remind us that if we want an awakening, there will be that society person trying to stop us in all the stages. I think that's Mr. Pontellier's biggest importance in the story. It's like that reality he brings to people's response. Like, not everything is going to be perfect for her. Then Edna says that she had a feeling of having descended in the social scale, with a corresponding sense of having risen in the spiritual. So I think what Chopin wants to tell us here is that an awakening and a spiritual awakening makes us solitary. It leads us away from other people. I think she says if you want to be separate from society, you are going to have to be separate from society. You're probably going to lose contact with the people you love and with the people you thought you would be close to in any situation. I think Edna is feeling the solitude, and that's why she tends to visit her friends so much. She wants support, but they don't want the same as her, so I don't think she gets as she wish she would. Then I wanted to mention something that I found interesting. Since this book is about the gender that has been ignored until this point in history, you would think that it was only about women. But Chopin, even though she doesn't give that much importance, she includes these other people that are generally ignored in literature and in the real world. She just says a young black girl who did the laundry, she was there. So it's these little moments that help us not to forget that even though we don't think about these people all the time, they are there, just like women have been there forever trying to have their own rights. So I like that this little black girl who did the laundry was included in the story. So there's a part where Edna says that she has gotten into the habit of expressing herself. She says, "I know you would think this is unwomanly." So I think this is really sad that in the society she lives in, and probably we still live in, women are considered like shouldn't express themselves. That Edna as a woman feels that it is unwomanly to express herself is very sad, and it's really strong evidence of a need for an awakening and for an uprisal. So then Robert comes back from Mexico, and he hasn't said hello to Edna before, and they just meet accidentally. So Edna is wondering why he hasn't said hello, why he didn't send any letters when he was in Mexico. And we realize that even though Edna is over her marriage and she is willing to be with Robert if he is who she really loves, but Robert isn't ready to be with her if she's married. He still thinks of her as not free because she's with Leonce. So I think this actually comes back to the last page, where where she thinks Robert did not know, he did not understand. So I think this is what he does not understand. She hasn't understand that she can be free. He hasn't, that he can be free even in a marriage. That if a marriage ties you down instead of giving you happiness, you shouldn't be tied down to it. You should be with someone else. Then Edna, until now, we weren't sure what had brought Edna into this awakening that she is in since the beginning of the book. But then she says, it was you, talking to Robert, it was you who awoke me last summer out of a lifelong stupid dream. So she's really accepting that it was Robert the one who made her realize that she needed an awakening, that she wanted something more from her life. So even though Robert doesn't understand what she's going through, and she doesn't have the need for this freedom, it was Edna wanting to be with him, what led her to want to this awakening. And so now that she is in it, she has realized that it won't be free. It comes with certain things, certain suffering. She says, "Oh well, perhaps it is better to wake up after all, even to suffer, rather than to remain a dupe to illusions all one's life." So the happiness that other women think they are feeling, Edna knows that it's just illusions. And she accepts that she prefers to suffer in the life she's in than to continue with these illusions that are really meant nothing. And that might also be one of the reasons why Edna decided to commit suicide at the end of the book, because she achieved her awakening, yet it didn't solve her problems. She knew that the awakening came with these sacrifices she had to make. One of them maybe being she had to end her life. Okay, so then she finally goes back to Grand Isle where everything started in the first place. She tells Victor that she's going to go into the ocean. She wears her bathing suit and then she decides to take it off. She's naked, and she says how strange and awful it seemed to stand naked in the ocean. But then she says how delicious. She felt like some newborn creature, opening its eyes in a familiar world that it had never known. So this is like a new beginning for Edna. This death is actually opening more doors for her than it's closing. She has realized that she was living in a world that she hadn't known before. And when she finally sees it, when she finally understands the world she's living in, she wants to let go of it. She wants to leave it. So this nakedness kind of represents like this freedom that she has, and this uncertainty of what's going to happen next. It's like being born in a new world that no one has ever known. And Edna will be the first to experience this. So we don't really know, like, specifically if Edna commits suicide or not. But it is pretty obvious that Chopin wants to believe she did, because she says things like her arms and legs were growing tired, or it was too late, the shore was far behind her, and her strength was gone. So there could be two possible reasons, or maybe more, I don't know, about why Edna decided to commit suicide in the first place. It could be because she succeeded in what she wanted to do in her life. She succeeded in her awakening. She had nothing else to do. She committed suicide. But I personally think it was because she failed. Because herself, she achieved that awakening, but she couldn't change the world. She couldn't change how other people saw it. she knew Robert and the people she loved would never understand. They would